Alright, let's make sure that I'm streaming now. Let's make sure that this is fucking actually working. Until I blue screen or black fucking screen of death again and it all goes to shit.
Shit is totally rested right now on my end.
By the way, someone sent me a PS Vita, which is pretty cool.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, I was more one for ES.
Elysian Shadows on the PS Vita?
Maybe. I would love to do that, but I probably won't have time.
PS Vita,
Dude, I remember I bought a Vita for the Jack and Daxter collection, and then like 2 or 3 years later, they just completely abandoned support.
Okay, we're live. All right, how's the audio again? Dude, people, I'm so sorry. I was in the middle of fucking something. You saw, and my Mac just fucking shit itself. I got the Mac black screen of death, like hardware error, like kernel panic. And everything, like, just fucking died after getting all this shit set up. I hate my life. I fucking hate my life. That's what I get.
What happens when you don't clean your desktop.
That's what I get when I use it. The sad thing is, you might be right. That's the disturbing part.
Dude, I was trying to...
That might play an impact. I've literally had my Mac run 10 times faster having less icons on my desktop. That's not normal. Like, that's not a good sign.
I mean, by this point, you maybe should start questioning your choice of operating system.
Dude, Windows 10 is such a piece of shit, though, dude. Windows 10 is the worst fucking... I used to be a Windows user. Oh, yeah, dude, yeah. I was a Windows user my whole life, and then 8 happened. I used to have both Mac and Windows, but I was, like, always preferring Windows. But after 8 and 10 came out, like, dude... I use Windows at work again. I forgot how much fucking shittier Windows is than a Mac. And it didn't used to be like that.
Because like I don't really have. I mean, the performance.
Oh god.
What is
Oh
that?
god, what the fuck was that?
I'm so sorry. Shit.
Okay, I don't know what the fuck was that. But like performance-wise, sure. But I don't have like a fucking crashes or anything like that. Like
No, dude. No, a Mac crashes way less often. A Mac crashes way less often. I haven't rebooted this in like 2 months, but when it does crash, it's devastating. It's different like that.
I would say this. I don't like no Linux, no Windows, and no like OS. I would just want a new operation system that is better than the fucking old systems.
Like I write a fucking OS from scratch, knowing all that we know now collectively as society.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have like few $1 billion to finance that project?
Nope. That's why I'm not doing it.
Instance, dude, if you Google Temple OS, I think that might suit your needs.
I think I'm good with Mac.
Oh, here's the enmity table. Dude, I use Mac for a very simple reason. Because Windows is a piece of shit for serious development. Like I can't take Windows seriously when it doesn't have a Bash POSIX environment. Like make
and their command line
and the command line, the command line is like the basis of any serious development. It doesn't have that. On the other hand, Linux has that. But they're not that stable, and their UI is kind of shitty. The Mac is literally the fucking, like, it's middle ground. Like, you open the terminal, I'm on fucking Linux. You use the UI, it's like I got the polish of fucking Windows, so that's why I'm...
app support, too. Like, I can get all my Adobe apps and Final Cut and whatever I need on here.
But that's why...
I can see the reasoning for it.
Not only that, but battery life on my MacBook compared to any Windows laptop I've ever owned is...
The hardware is really, really high quality. Dude.
I mean, to be fair, I never was like some sort of like a mobile laptop / stuff like that user. Like, I fucking like my workstations and bajillion of monitors.
Well, yeah, I've got 3 right now hooked up. Well, I've got a Hackintosh as my desktop, but I still have a MacBook for the laptop.
Yeah, but the same. Like, I'm getting myself
more water.
More monitors if I don't lose my job. But yeah, I fucking love like having just like a development setup, and I just don't understand how. I mean, I can see people working on laptops. I just don't understand how this is possible.
Okay, I will tell you why it's possible.
I respect that.
No, it's possible because you building yourself in the house, a workplace with a laptop. Like I have my laptop, an Asus ROG laptop with 1070 and i7 and shit. connecting to 2 monitors.
Oh, dude, like fucking
and like
1070 a laptop. Like that's not a laptop. That's like a mobile workstation.
no. It's weighing 2.4 kilo, I think, or 2.3. I will send you a link. Wait.
That's alright. I've heard of I've heard of like quote unquote laptops which are like 5 kilos.
I had the MSI GT
Yeah,
70 with the 6070 GTX mobile.
Like, yeah, with the fucking full-size GPUs inside. I'm like, how the fuck does that even work? Does it like cook your nuts or something? Like, how are you supposed to run it on your laptop? On your laptop?
No, like you're not running it on a laptop. I needed it because my parents are divorced and I moved from house to house, so I needed a laptop and not a PC.
Yeah, I can only fucking imagine.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it's when you're starting with a laptop, with a good laptop, and you know you can move to a friend house and play, and you can work everywhere, you cannot go back to a PC.
Yep, all I, like 90% of ES was developed on a piece of shit MacBook Pro that, like, I still have that fucking MacBook Pro. That hardware has been through so goddamn much. It's still going strong. I loved that fucking thing.
Resurrect it.
Yeah, it needs a new fan, actually. Oh, it has an SSD already.
Oh, sick.
It just needs a new fan, and then it will be back to its glory days.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I swap from my phone to my computer.
A simple solution would be like just getting a thin light laptop and an external GPU.
Yep.
I mean,
MacBook Pro with an eGPU.
I mean, eGPU today are shit unless it's Alienware.
No.
No, dude, I've heard
Thunderbolt
from
3.
what I hear, the eGPUs are pretty impressive from a bunch of AMD guys.
Yeah, if you're taking the 1050, if you're taking the 1050 or the equal in AMD, you will have great results. But if you will take more than the mid-range, there is not enough bandwidth for the GPU.
Bandwidth, you mean?
Bandwidth. Yeah, sorry.
I felt like you meant like.
What's the highest bandwidth the Thunderbolt or whatever the fuck
40
that an eGPU?
40 gigabits per second. I think most eGPU enclosures reach about 32 gigabits per second max.
And it depends if you're playing on the.
All right, what's a PCI? All right, what did you say it did? It said how many?
40 gigabits per second for Thunderbolt 3.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Hold the fuck up. That's fast as all shit. Hold on. What's PCIe?
100 and something. 136, I think.
I mean, I'm trying to search how much the 1070 is staking.
Oh.
Huh, damn. I'm not even knowledgeable of that shit.
It also depends on other things attached to the laptop, like on my 15-inch. I think I can only get a max X4 link because it's already got dedicated GPU. Asking for PCIe lanes.
Right.
So you take a 13-inch
It's on the
that
same
doesn't
bus.
have a DGPU, and I think it can get like an 8x link. It's still fast though with an X4 link.
How do you calculate bandwidth?
Oh,
For that, like a game or app uses, or how do you mean? Of just hardware? In general.
In general. Yeah, I mean, I can see the core clock, the memory speed, like all this stuff, but I don't know how much. I mean,
do they not like publicize that?
it's just
Yeah, I thought they did. Yeah.
By 16.
It should be part of the PCIe spec.
PCIe 3.0 by 16.
Okay, bandwidth. Yeah, I find it in a Tech Power GPU that showed the 1070. So the 1070 bandwidth is 200.5 gigabyte per second. So you see, one Thunderbolt cannot really use the 1070 correctly.
Okay, but
Right, but that's also saying that the game is maxing at 100% of what that's doing. Most games are not actually going to use anywhere near that, but the highest ones might.
That's what they said. You need to go the
Okay.
mid-range GPU for external GPU, not the high-end GPUs.
Yeah, because like, what's the
You could
point
still-
of what's the point of getting really fucking high-speed fucking clock if you can't even push all the data through? Like that's
Well,
yeah.
You could
Yeah.
still reap the benefits of a faster GPU.
Yeah, that's true,
You get
too.
About 80 to
Yeah.
90% of the performance you would get.
But
It's
if
not like you're
you-
missing more than half.
Sounds to me like the configuration on these games are like being stupid though, because it should be. It's like the game is trying to. It doesn't make sense that the graphics card should run shittier than a shittier one. You know, if it's a better GPU, it's like they're still trying to push like the highest end settings over that bus. Yeah, which is going to limit it. But if you ran on like the same settings as something that was a shittier that was like mid-range or something, you should still be better off with high range. It sounds more like the applications aren't really tailored to these very well.
Yeah, but if you look at Alienware, it made something called the amplifier, I think, and it's like they made closer to PCI Express or MXM in laptops. Don't remember which one of them.
Yeah, but
connection on
that's
the back of the laptop to get like more performance.
proprietary Alienware. The idea with Thunderbolt 3 is that, hey, here's this eGPU box that I can use on my MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
I can take it and use it now on, say, a Razer Blade with Thunderbolt or whatever else that has.
Not to mention, you do that on ES, and I can use it as a physics processor or something.
Exactly, which in that case,
with
it's still
OpenCL.
an accelerator,
Yep.
even if it's not at the full PCI bandwidth.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I would wish they would have multiple, maybe Thunderbolt connection to the eGPU, so then you can use like 4.
But then you're losing a whole
connection.
buttload of bandwidth if you're daisy chaining them like that. But if you have, like say on my MacBook where it's got 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, and you put, well, I think it's 2 controllers, one on each side, one for each side. So you have one on one side, one on the other side. Boom.
Okay.
That's how you do that. 4 is kind of impractical because then kind of overflooding the controllers, but
Yeah, I just meant one eGPU connecting to all 4 of them, but sure.
oh, yeah.
Not 4 GPUs.
Okay. Well, you
Yeah,
need
it's
a
a bit
laptop
more-
with 4 Thunderbolt controllers then.
Yeah, to
Because you
connect
can-
to a really amazing GPU. I mean,
Yeah,
you can make, you can even make it like on the bottom of the laptop, like they used to do, like
A dot
So-
connector.
yeah, a dock connector, the connector, yeah, that you can connect the external GPUs or something.
Dude, but you know that they would make it in the fucking proprietary fucking bullshit. and
Yeah,
it would be
I'd rather-
fucking annoying.
I'd
I'd
rather
rather
Thunderbolt,
have a-
which
That
is
There is already-
proprietary, but
It's already fucking bitch in the ass to get like Thunderbolt. Like I mean, there is just is there any support for Thunderbolt in
Yes.
fucking Windows?
yeah,
By this point,
the Razer Blade has it. There's a whole
Yeah,
bunch of Dell XPS has a Thunderbolt port.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
every
like getting
laptop
getting
almost has
it
it.
is such a pain in the fucking ass, right?
On
So
Just
Windows.
to
Yeah.
just to interrupt quickly,
I
Falco,
mean,
there is a question from the chat. Someone asks, Romeo
Oh, shit.
asks, just out of curiosity, how much percentage of memory and video memory is ES using on the Dreamcast on average while playing?
Oh,
Are you also measuring
basically
the temperature?
almost
That is
all
possible.
of it. No, you can't measure the temperature on the Dreamcast, but pretty much like on average right now, too much, and a lot of scenes can't run on it because. So what's going to happen later on is the toolkit is going to analyze the scene when you export, and then export it for the Dreamcast in like optimal texture compression using paletting and shit like that to reduce it. But yeah, basically the Dreamcast is going to be maxed out pretty much the entire time you play ES, like 100% pretty much. I mean, to the point that during development, like we run out of RAM and VRAM like all the time. It's not a big deal, because it's during development. You're not like, you're not actually that optimal yet. And like I said, the toolkit can do a lot more to make that not happen. The other avenues that I'm not really using right now, like texture compression and shit like that, it's just like an investment I need to put into the ESTK to be able to basically like look at all of the textures that are in a scene and then figure out the most optimal, least lossy way to package them for the Dreamcast. That's pretty much how Unity does it too for like deploying to like iPhone and shit like that.
Nice.
So wait, how much? How much VRAM do we have for Dreamcast?
8 megabytes with best case scenario ever. It's 8 megabytes with it actually has really good texture compression, 8:1. So it would be more like 64 megabytes, but then you have like several megabytes for the frame buffer, so about 60-ish or 40 something, 40 to 60.
Dude, I can probably close in like just in terms of art assets. I mean, like I'm not thinking. Spine is a bitch. But
Yeah,
like, in terms of
it's
pure texture-wise, like we're way under that.
Right, and you also have to think about things like if we're over on Dreamcast, you can do things like having less NPC skins in one town. You know, like they're generic NPCs. There are all kinds of tricks you can do. You know, like
dude,
you repeat NPC textures more often on Dreamcast. You know, things that don't affect gameplay.
Yeah, I could also do like a fucking. I could make a separate like instead of fucking shitting all of them, because like for PC for like PCs, like when the memory isn't really as much of an issue, it sort of makes sense more to load all of the NPCs for the entire area on one sheet.
Right.
Because then you like for multiple of reasons, but like for Dreamcast we could I could do like a separate skeletons for them. We could like I could like segment it.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of shit we can do like that. The ESTK can really help with some of them manual, some of them automatic. So it's not really that big, like during development, like you're gonna run a VRAM like all the fucking time right now, so it's not really that big of a deal because we have so much like available to us that really you don't really use stuff like that until you really like are towards the end and you have all the textures that are gonna be in the scene and things like that to figure out how you want to do that. But yeah, there are all kinds of like part of the engine, like the performance paradigm we've been using, a lot of like how we've been developing this game has always been like, how do we make things vary across platform but be 100% non-gameplay affecting, so like these are things we've like considered from like the inception of this project, so absolutely nothing will be gameplay affecting, but like this also lets us run on so many other devices that might not support shaders and stuff. Like that's one cool thing about ES that like almost no other style of game can scale to this extent. Like have this much like shit that can take advantage of like the highest NPCs and then scale back this fucking much to like the lowest end, without all just looking like shit based on the lowest end or without not running on the low end platforms. I feel like we've done like a really good job and ESTK kind of embraces that philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, like, art style by itself, like, because, like, right now I'm literally just working in Photoshop right now, and you can see it looks quite alright. So, this is the worst Elysian Shadows will ever look. And then on top of
that's the worst will look, without dynamic lighting.
You're gonna have, like, fucking dynamic lighting, dynamic shadows, normal map.
Way the fuck better.
Dynamic fucking shaders and shit like that. So, yeah, if that's the worst we can get, then, babe, I think we're pretty good.
Okay, so he's asking me about like asset management. So let me see if I can open up the toolkit for its building. Okay, so for our scenes in ES, we have a concept of something called a level and an area. A level is something like you would have a forest level, and then there are different sub-maps within it, which are area. So everything that shares the same, that's within the same level, basically shares the same like base assets in terms of tiles and like environment, so that when you load a level, you're loading all that shit once and then swapping between areas. It's like a much, much smaller load, which is just basically loading a map and